and talk about how did you get, to meet your husband? That's a wonderful story.
Actually, this is when the war ended. VA, Veterans Administration, was after me to be a recreation director at their large, very large facility, which they had outside of Fort Leavenworth. They had 4 hospitals there, and it was general surgery and a mental hospital and TB hospital and domiciliary, where they had a place where veterans could live when if they had no place to go. So they made me director of all this entertainment, recreation and entertainment.
And how old were you?
See, I guess I was 25 by that time, I think.
25.
Yeah. And so, well, yes, that's what I was. And so then this was wonderful. And I really enjoyed that too. That was more like when I was an Army hostess, because again, I'd go from hospital to hospital, and then I was getting volunteers to help, and that worked out very well. And then one day, this doctor friend of mine said, "There's an older man. He's a colonel, and he's interested in meeting you. He's older than you are." And I said, "Oh, that's fine. That doesn't make any difference." And so he set up an appointment, but I worked all the time. I mean, just as I do now. And so he came to call on me, but I tried to reach him because I was working overtime. I actually was helping somebody in the mental hospital, and I couldn't get away. But I didn't know how to reach him, and so I called the fort, and I did everything I could, and I never got him. And so he came to pick me up, and I lived in the nurses' quarters, and I wasn't there. And so I felt foolish, and I know that I had been taught to act differently. So the next day I called and apologized. I said, "How does one apologize to someone?" And he said, "Just the way you to apologize for anything that you've done." And he was out. I could see he was upset. So I said, I'm really sorry." And so we set up another appointment, and that did it.
Another appointment.
And who was that?
That was Harry Loveland Kinne Jr., Colonel.
And how did your first date with him go? The real date?
Oh, he took me to a theater performance at Fort Leavenworth. I always say I was married in the little chapel there, and people always say, "Where were you married?" And I always say, "Fort Leavenworth." Really? In Fort Leavenworth? Oh my!
How long did you? How long before you married?
Well, we were there. Let's see. He was at Command and General Staff College there, and then we were married the next year, and we were married in the little Army chapel, which has very thick walls. It was a Pony Express station during the Pony Express days, and I signed a little pillow, which the bride did there. I signed a little pillow, and that was in 1948. And so about 6 or 7 years ago, there was an international meeting in Kansas City, and they had asked me to do the kickoff address. And so I thought, oh, this is good. I'll go back to my haunts where I was married. And so I had a friend with me. And so we drove up to Leavenworth and to Wadsworth, it was just right outside of Leavenworth. And but first I said, "Could I see the chapel?" Well, they said, "Well, just go. It's open." So we drove to the chapel, and I found the lights, turned on the lights, and then I thought, I wonder if that pillow's still here. And so after the lights turned on, I looked everywhere. Well, actually, it was on a magazine rack, and here were all these pillows from all these decades. And I looked there, and sure enough, it said Francis Bartlett and Harry Kinne.
Wow.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Did you want to take it with you?
I think I was at the point thought that we had probably, since we'd turned on the lights and gone in there, I thought we better get out of there as fast as we could.
Oh, goodness.
But of course, that's because it's from there then when we went overseas.